Hello and welcome to GPs with Kevin Magee. I'm Kevin and joining me Scotty Stevens. Scotty, the first Grand Prix back in Brazil at Goiania for years. And what did you think of that? Fair bit of madness from what I saw.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. 100%, mate. Coming to you live from my motel in beautiful Gloucester. Yeah, it had everything, didn't it? After 22 years in the wilderness, the track, well, it gave some good racing, but there were other parts of it which just didn't hold up. Yeah, what was your take on it all, mate?
Well, I raced there in '89 and it was pretty red dusty. You could see the dirt's like a very red colour. And, well, there wasn't much dust around. There was a lot of water. And the track did crack up there at one point. The main race was, well, shortened by, I think it was 9 laps from 31 down to 22. And the madness in Moto3 and Moto2, let alone MotoGP, they qualified Moto2 Q1 and Q2 on Sunday morning because they ran out of time after Moto3's late Saturday afternoon. The light was fading. And, I mean, the amount of crashes, especially at turn 4, and some guys lucked out and some guys had no luck at all.
Yeah, just on that turn 4, the Q2 crashes, Kev, did you see, was there anything on the track at the time, or was the track starting to break up then?
No, I think it's just the way the corner is. And as I said in our first episode, the track at Goiania, it's old school. It's like Phillip Island, just not designed by a computer or any algorithms or anything. It's just blokes more or less walking around the paddock like McNamara Park over in Mangambia, South Australia. As I said, Phillip Island, Brno in the Czech Republic, the first 3 quarters of Donington in England. And they're the tracks that really test riders. And Suzuka is another one in Japan, because the radiuses aren't continuous, like either on entry or exit. You could see the corner onto the front straight's fairly interesting, as is the infield at Goiania. And it's just like, it looks inviting to, duck up the inside of someone, but then you basically got to do a big double apex U-turn. And if you get in there too hot, you run into strife, and that's what a lot of riders did.
Yeah, right. So what was the track that much different? Because I know they've obviously tore it up and built a new track, but was it much different than what it was when you last rode it? Could you see?
No, basically the same. From what I could gather, the statistics said it was 2 meters longer.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be just a change of line or a bit of widening here and there, because it was pretty archaic when I was there in '89.
Yep. So with the heat problem, do you think they'll move that next year to a different date, maybe a cooler climate there?
It depends on how they design or format the flyaway rounds. It's all sort of got to flow in, as far as when they do the Southern Hemisphere at the end of the year.
Yeah, no.
Bit like that, do Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Phillip Island for the last time, I might add.
Yeah, but having to drop laps, off the race itself, that's a big ask for an FIM race. I mean,
yeah, for sure, and it's a massive decision. But it's like at Phillip Island a few years ago when they had to break it into 2 10-lap legs where you had to pit and change your rear tyre, and that's when Marc Marquez didn't take notice of the pit board. He'd done 11 laps, so he got pinged for that, and consequently didn't win.
Yeah, just on Marquez, the way Bezzecchi when there was a track shot, a high shot, you just sort of could see the legs Bezzecchi had on Marquez back in 3rd place, 4th place. Is the Ducati starting to falter?
I think the layout of the track definitely suits the Aprilia and Bezzecchi style, for that matter, because you still got to ride what bike's under you no matter what. And the Ducati is probably harder to turn traditionally than the Aprilia. And Marquez, I think he was keeping his powder dry a little bit for a fight at the end of the race. You know, you can sort of let him get 2 or 2.5 seconds, but you don't want to let him get any more than that because it's sort of irretrievable by the end of the race because you've got to punish your tyres too much. And I think Marquez was just sort of keeping his cards a bit close to his chest, especially after what happened in Thailand, going to round 2 with 8 points from the sprint race. So, yeah, I think he was just keeping it cool. And then, yeah, they seem to not be able to do too much about Bezzecchi's pace at the moment, especially leading so many laps so far in the two races and 2 sprint races,
So,
even though he crashed in the first sprint race.
yeah. So with he's battled with Diggy at the for the 3rd position there. He got in front of him a couple of times, and then he just ran a bit too deep there. Brakes or just overzealous?
Yeah, again, overzealous, and Marquez is never shy to come forward. And, you know, those double right-handers at turn 4 and into the last couple, onto the straight, you can easily get in there too hot, run too wide, and see the rider on the inside, the rider on the outside out here, he's just going like, oh, he's not going to make it, so I'll pull it up a little bit more. And you pull it up, turn it, and just duck underneath him, and then they're on your outside and you're gone. You've got them back. So they've made their own mistake. You just watch them, give them enough rope, and they'll do that. Go wide, you slip up the inside, and off you go.
Yeah, right. Okay. So my
But you've got to have that presence of mind to realise that instead of trying to fight them around the outside, which is generally a losing battle, you just got to pull your head in, come back, duck up, and nail them.
Yeah, right. So yeah, my predictions from last episode pretty well on the money. So, mate, as far as the Moto2 goes, could we just touch on that for a second? What were your thoughts on that?
Centre A just struck a yellow flag on the last lap, so he had to start from the back of the grid after starting from pole in Thailand. So he was obviously gutted, being a young fella, and, you know, took it all to heart, sort of thing, which is kind of fair enough in the real sense. But the team were disappointed and told him, well, that was yesterday, this is today, sort of thing. Give him that kind of word up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't a good result for Senna, but anyway, move on to the next one. You know, give him a hiding in America. That's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah, but the heat got to a lot of the riders there in Moto2 and 3. So obviously that was a factor, and they didn't get their track time shortened as in the MotoGP. So you could see they were pretty well affected by it.
Yeah, and as we know, it's quite a high altitude there at Goiania. I can't remember how high, but it's quite high. So the bikes become less powerful simply because of thinner air, as well as an athlete, you're weaker because there's not enough oxygen in the air to perform at 100% as you normally do.
Yeah, yeah. So over to Moto3 and Joel Kelso, he I think he finished. He was 7th on the grid, and I think he finished just out of the top 10. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he was 12th, 11th or 12th in the end. Yeah, for Joel.
Yeah. His race. Did you watch that?
Yeah. Good. It was like annoying to see him, you know, just sliding backwards. But it's early days. He's on a Honda, but the 2 Lavity bikes were pretty much at the front for a lot of the qualifying and, you know, early into the race. But again, it's a new track for everybody, and I get, apart from probably Diego Moreira and the rookie in MotoGP. And I think Joel's he's in good stead this year with the Lavity team. It looks like Michael Lavity's really got his team together, and everything's going good with the Honda machinery too, because he's also getting used to the Honda off the KTM for a few years for Joel Kelso.
Yeah, right. Okay, and going forward to the next round in Austin, Texas. You know, I lived in Austin, Texas for 6 years, my first life. Farish was from there, and my boys have sort of been raised there. We had a ranch in Austin, just outside of Austin. So
Do you have a ranch or a farm?
It was a ranch, mate. They don't call them
Right.
farms in America. In the Midwest they do, not in Texas, mate. Where the good old boys are from. Your mate Kevin Schwantz, great Austin boy. Yeah, so I really rated as far as somewhere to go. As far as if you're just going over to watch the MotoGP and in your downtime, I mean, you go down through 6th Street there, and it's a very lively sort of place, Austin. Although I was there 30 years ago, but I do go back every few years to see family. But the track layout, I enjoy watching both the bikes and the cars there. The boxes are second to none as far as your alcohol and food and whatever beverage they come up with. So it's it's a really good weekend, the whole weekend. So have you been there, and what are your thoughts on the upcoming?
No, I haven't been there.
No.
No.
So you didn't get an invite to my ranch? No.
No, I didn't know you then. You were a nobody.
No. I didn't know you were. You were nothing. You weren't even on my radar, mate. Kevin Schwantz was. So anyway, yeah. So what's your predictions? Not predictions. Let's do that later. But your thoughts on last year's MotoGP there and the riders involved going forward this year?
It's always a different one because you got parts of Suzuka, which Kevin Swantz helped with the design of the track. They had a bit of a legal blue over that, but anyway, that's another story. Parts of Suzuka, I think it's over 1,000-meter back straight, so you need some horsepower. So the new V4 Yamaha might be in trouble a little bit there, but if it's nimble, it can, maybe make some of that up in the rest of the circuit. If you'd say anything, you might say it's sort of hard to pass. You've got to be really committed to make a pass there. And they got the reverse corkscrew, I think they call it, down the back of the circuit there. And there's some rights around sort of about a bit after halfway around the lap that lead into towards the end of the lap. And a lot of guys lose the front there because it's just hard on the front, and you're on the gas as well, so it's really pushing the front from the rear. So it's hard to pass and easy to bin it, I'd probably say. Marquez won his first 7 MotoGPs there. Before that, they were at Indianapolis and Laguna Seca back in my day. And yeah, so specifically designed for motorcycle racing, not sort of an ad hoc thing. Obviously car racing too, being in America. And yeah, it's an interesting track, and they called Marquez the king of COTA because he won the first 7, but like he did in Sachsenring, because it goes left, 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 and there's a couple of rights from his dirt track days, which is all left, as you know, being a speedway nut. And he's made some big mistakes there. In 2019, he crashed out of a just on 4-second lead with 12 laps to go. So he can make mistakes. And I remember another time he clipped Danny Pedrosa's rear brake hose in a passing move. And then I think Danny crashed after that. So there's been a lot of interesting things happen over there. Another time he ran back when one of his bikes broke, ran straight back up pit lane and jumped on his second bike and went out and set pole or something just ridiculously good. So he is definitely the one to watch around there. But what these Aprilias are doing, they're setting the benchmark at the moment.
Yeah, they're just I just can't believe how quick they are, how good they've become in the last 12 months, for example. Like at the end of last year, they were starting to really make some inroads, and then start of this year, it's them and daylight, and it's weird to see.
Yeah, and so many of them, up towards the front is the other thing. I mean, there's only 4 bikes, but they're generally sort of close together, so that shows how good the bike itself is. But the Europeans tend to be able to make a decision, make a change, where traditionally the Japanese, I think that's why they got some of the European engineers over there in their teams now, and probably in their test teams too. And yeah, the Japanese would traditionally sort of hum and ha, but if we change that, then we've got to change that. So if you change two things, you don't get a specific result. And that's what the Japanese weren't traditionally, as I say, good at. And the Europeans are. So that's why Aprilia obviously put in a hard winter, in the workshop there. And you get results. Like, there's not a lot of, all the testing's restricted, so there's a lot of rules around it. So you've got to make what you do in the wintertime effective, and Aprilia certainly have. And they're probably going to have to lose some of their concessions soon. So they might get punted up into B because there's nobody in B. And with what they're doing, I think that'll be judged over the next two races.
Yeah. Now, mate, American riders, it's like in their car racing. They like to sort of get it that they've got three Formula Ones over there at the moment. They haven't got an American driver in the top flight, and MotoGP is virtually the same. You've got Joel Roberts, whatnot, but is there anybody in the American market who could, or is close to breaking into something like the MotoGP?
I don't know. We'll have to get on the Ray and Swanson, ask those boys. Haven't been keeping a close eye on what they're doing over there in the AMA. And I don't know, but it's funny how the eras work, because back in the early 80s and mid 80s, it was sort of the Aussies or the Yanks that were winning the world championships.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
the Euros were nowhere, and sort of we've lost the plot a little bit. And so have the Yanks. So the Euros have steamrolled us in a sense. So we better pull our fingers out and get someone back on the grid.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jack's on the grid, but Jack's on the grid. I think he was 30 last year, so he's certainly up with him. So go, Jack. Good on you.
Yeah. Well, he obviously crashed last weekend. Just every time he crashes, my heart just sinks. I just think, God. Anyway, that's just Jack, mate. He's 100% or 0%.
Yes.
There's nothing in between. Just on that, what's it like for the Moto3s around there? As far as not a whole lot of chance to overtake, they love overtaking moves.
Yeah, well, they just they generally get into trouble and get a few penalties for waiting for the draft. Loitering online or on the racetrack when they're not supposed to, looking for the draft because it's such a long straight. And the draft really does help them out, and there's no question there. But I just don't know why they don't sort of come up with a bit more clever of a tactic to gain the advantage. Like, maybe just knock it off a little bit if there's someone good near, instead of just like sitting up like Miss Daisy or whatever and just going like, oh, I'm going really slow, and wait for the other guys so I can get a draft. And the race direction just goes like, all right, ping him.
Yeah.
And then they're disappointed with their grid slots.
Yeah. Because it's a weird first corner running up that hill. It doesn't seem that steep, but it actually is when you're there. And going, you go uphill and then into a left-hand corner. It's a weird one, mate, that one.
Yeah, and with those ones, and when it sort of plateaus up near the top, you still get a bit of lift because you're going so hard under brakes. It's good for brakes because you can really drive it into the hill that you're climbing under brakes.
Yeah.
And then you get a bit of like lift off, so you got to be careful on that first apex, not to lose the front or even the rear. We've seen that happen before. So again, you just got to measure it all out. It's up to you as a rider and one of the best in the world to take all that stuff into account. And especially the first right-hander, a lot of guys lose the front there just after that first turn. So into that first right-hander, and you haven't been on the, I can remember calculating it years ago, you haven't been on the right side of the tyres for like 13 or 17 seconds of the lap. So tends to cool down, especially if the weather's a bit fresh and there's a cold wind around there. The tyres cool down on the other unused side quite quickly. So you just got to lay it in there and just like feel it out rather than just expect that it's going to have 100% grip.
Yeah. So with the MotoGPs going forward, I was going to ask you this during the week. If somebody had a bit of money to spend and they wanted to go to a MotoGP somewhere in the world, which one would you spend your money on, your hard-earned money, mate? Like for a fun time and the fact that it's great racing. What would be your preference? Sorry.
Best ones as far as the racetrack goes is Phillip Island. But we only got one chance left at that, so we might have a crack at that. I reckon Donington's a good track as well. I haven't been to COTA, so I can't comment, but I reckon it'll be, like you say, it'll be pretty good and good party atmosphere. And if Swans can live in Dallas, I reckon should be a pretty wild joint.
No, 100%.
And the Czech Republic's a really good track too.
Yep.
There's plenty available, but
well,
I don't know. Phillip Island for the last shot would be my choice. If Dad's going to go to one.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely go to that this year. But I was thinking during the year, if I was to go somewhere to go and see a GP live, I'm just not sure where I'd want to spend my money right now. But anyway, we'll take a break and we'll be back with Track Yak.
Welcome back to GPs with Kevin Magee. Scotty, what do you got for me on Track Yak? What's going on around the world?
Not much, Kev. So, yeah, mate, the Speedway Grand Prix starts in Germany on the 1st of May. So that's a month away. We had the motocross this weekend in Monaco. So that's normally a big event over there, which is nice. They raced in Spain last weekend. Lucas Conan and Camden McLennan, they conquered in the Spanish sand. So that's really all we have around the grounds at the moment. Now, Kevin, I just want to go back to old times, mate. And since it's the week of the Americas, I'd like to go back to a great track, well, a scary track, which was Laguna Seca, which you rode on many a times. And I think that may have ended your career over there, I'm pretty sure. But what are your thoughts on that track, mate?
Well, it didn't end my career. I probably ended my own career. Just happened to be at Laguna. Can't blame the track. You've had tradesman blames his tool. You know the story. Now, as far as Laguna went, I liked it. The extension on the infield, to me, it was all right, but it was kind of boring. The corkscrew's like the Dipper at Bathurst, but not as, I don't believe it's as steep as the Dipper at Bathurst. And I did love riding around Bathurst when I rode there in the mid-'80s. Inherently dangerous, but you just have to take that into account. Laguna, inherently dangerous, but I really enjoyed it. And again, you take that into account. But as a track, a black piece of tarmac, I really liked it. Pit facilities, nil. They had some shipping containers there for us in '88, and tents out the back. So that was that. But no, I really liked Laguna. I just had zero luck there.
Yeah, where did you come off? What corner was that? Because it was an Armco coming out, wasn't it?
Yeah, up before you head up to the corkscrew up the back straight.
Yeah, mate.
Come off the infield and then head under the bridge. That was turn 5, and then turn 6 was a fast, I think it was third gear sweeper onto the back uphill straight.
Mate, I watched that crash a long time ago, but from what I remember, and I might be wrong here, but yeah, America are very good at treating medical situations or emergency situations. To me, it looked like they just picked you up and flung you on a stretcher and raced you off. Like there was no spinal adjustment or a neck brace applied. Everything that they do now, they obviously didn't have back then. They just sort of picked you up and flung you off, and then you're in hospital for a long time after that, mate, and it was very touch and go.
Yeah, it was. I guess in everything we know a lot more now, and there's more procedures in place and protocols. But I was certainly got no complaints about the treatment. Not that I remember. And
Yeah,
I mean, to come out of it, the surgeons and that, when I went back to the hospital a year later, after competing in Suzuka and Eastern Creek Grand Prix, as in World GPs, the hospital staff there at San Jose Medical Center in LA couldn't believe that I'd walked in after racing 2 Grand Prix compared to like a year and a couple of weeks ago that I was in a coma.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
there was tears in the eyes and all that. And I was lucky that the young surgeon didn't get to do a craniotomy. The old guy, Henry Supple, I think it was, he was in his 60s and he just said, no, 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 we'll just fill him with juice and leave him.
Is that right?
Been a hard worker all my life, so I needed a good sleep anyway.
How many days were you out?
Technically 13, but you don't sort of wake up like the alarm goes off.
Yeah, it's a hard part waking up.
Yeah.
People tell me. Yeah. Oh, mate, that's that's a fast. That's a fast. The six turns fast, isn't it? You're coming out.
Yeah,
You
pretty
just
quick.
head across. Yeah.
It's like a hit and miss one. You sort of fall in the rut on the apex and then get back on the gas and hit her up the hill.
Yeah, righto. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, that was a quite a scary track, and it's infamous as far as the old Grand Prix go. That dipper, anyway. But the Americans always rode very well around there. I thought Schwantz that was his sort of track. Just the wild man that just let it all hang out. So yeah. So it's unfortunate that it's closed now. The GPs. But we've moved on to Austin. Everything closes down and moves on. If it's not the tracks are just shutting down, it's something else as far as shopping centres or housing taking over. Here in Australia, we've got the unpacks of the world, which were great tracks in the old days. They've all gone due to housing, and now we've got a massive shortage in this country. I mean, I could probably see a few more tracks closing down around the place. But anyway, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back after this.
Welcome back to GPs with Kevin Magee. We're going to try and cast ourselves into the future and go some predictions. So what do you got for me, Scotty, for the Circuit of the Americas this weekend?
Mate, I can't go past Bez just for sheer speed. That Aprilia is very, very fast. And I'm for a second I'm going to run into Digia, because he was just so competitive on the weekend that I can't sort of go past him. And then I'm putting Marquez for third spot, only because he's so good around there. Obviously winning 7 Grand Prix around there, he must know the track inside out. But I just don't think the Ducati has the speed of the Aprilia as yet.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Putting Marquez third when he's the king of COTA and no points from Thailand. Didn't win. Kind of got smoked in Brazil. You reckon he's going to go to America and finish just on the podium? I'll count that one out. I'll count that one out, mate. I reckon he'll be in the bin or he'll be on the top step. So I'm going to go Marc Marquez.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'll back that up with Bezzecchi on the Aprilia and Jorge Martin, because he's coming good from all his previous injuries, which he spent most of last year injured. He's starting to really turn the wick up right now.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, that's good, mate. We'll see. We'll tally this up at the end of the year, mate, and I'm sure I'll be in front, because you're really no good at picking anything. All right.
Me nose.
Yeah, well, you're good at that. Yeah, you're good at that. So have fun at the week, mate. You're birthing cows this week down on the farm, down at Horsham?
Nah, still haven't seen any, so
No.
haven't had to pull any out either.
Yeah, right. Are you still known as the Horsham Hurricane down there, mate? Still got the sign out?
Blown out. washed up, blown out, all that.
Yeah, we all are, mate. We all
Yeah.
are. Yeah. Well, I'll be back in the studio next week anyway, so I'm back out. That's it for this show. Thanks for joining us, viewers. We'll be back next time with our wrap on the Americas and our predictions for the race after. Thank you.
Righto. See you next time on GPs with Kevin Magee.